The bear, he'll kill you all!
I imagine you didn't dare throw not even one replica of Benny away now after the shoot.
No. Yeah, I mean, even if somebody offered money for him for auction, you couldn't put him up, could you? Because yeah, it wouldn't end well.
This is Benny, made just for you. As long as you have him by your side, nothing can ever hurt you.
Not even the demons in the hallway.
Apart from them.
Where did the actual idea for the look of the doll come from? I mean, it's obviously got a very kind of Elmo look about it, but there's something else about it that kind of gives it this creepy feel to it.
Yeah, there's I mean, obviously it was influenced by Elmo. We did a short film back in 2007, I think it was, called Eddie Loves You, and that was with an Elmo toy. So I wanted always to take that idea, turn it into a feature, but redesign the bear. So I like the idea of him having ears, because I wanted him to, like, say, as he ran around, I wanted him to just flop around. That juxtaposition between something that had no control over his limbs. He was meant to look like he was being piloted by a child, and that his limbs would just do this. So we gave him ears as well, because that kind of accentuates all that. And I wanted him to have like a dog-like quality, like in terms of his personality, and the fact that you'd have a very basic understanding of communication between the two, and a rudimentary understanding of English, and a static face. So like, and the tooth is quite baby-like as well. So we wanted to, so it was all those little things came together. And he's got a little starry coat because he was a magician in the first draft of the script.
Right. I mean, you mentioned that they had dog ears. I mean, I don't want to give anything away, but whenever dogs are harmed, not actually physically, but actually in the film they come to harm, that idea that the audience don't appreciate those kind of things, you just threw that literally out the window.
Yeah, well, I mean, I suppose you shouldn't have to say this, but I am actually a huge dog lover. But I think there's a huge difference between, I mean, there was this whole argument in the 1980s, wasn't there, that people would say they were certainly over here in the UK, they were trying to ban horror films, because they were saying, oh, well, if you watch horror films, it means that you're a violent person in real life, or, you know, violence on the screen is the same as real violence. But I think that argument goes with all things. Yeah, all bets are off in this film. And I think, you know, my personal opinion on this is, if you're happy to see, you know, a 9-year-old girl get slapped and killed, but then you draw the line at a cartoon dog, that doesn't make sense to me. It's either you go all the way or you don't do it. In fact, it kind of disturbs me that some people say, oh, I can laugh at people getting killed, but I can't laugh at animals getting killed. That's like, to me, it doesn't make any sense.
I mean, you said all bets are off there, you know, the sky's the limit. But was there anything that you tried to do, or you wanted to do, that you didn't manage to do in the end, either because of the budget or just because you took things too far?
Not from the taking the things too far, but certainly from the budget. Yeah, the original script was a lot bigger than this, you know, because all my friends said, write a script and just write what you want. So I did that, and then I realized it was like a $10 million movie. So I was like, okay, no, I can't write what I want. But there were loads of other kills and things that went foul. Like I said, there was a sequence where a load of people in an old people's home got killed by Benny. He just ran around taking everybody out on those Zimmer frames while they were trying to escape. And there was sequences with like a seance. That went really badly as well. That was a very gory scene. So there was a lot of stuff that we couldn't do, but it wasn't through lack of trying, it was through lack of budget. So the whole thing had to be kind of rewritten and condensed just to sort of take place in one house and be more about the relationship between Jack and Benny than sort of going off on tangents.
Right. I mean, something about this kind of film, I mean, obviously Benny's kind of like a gimmick, but whenever you have a film with a gimmick in it, there always needs to be some kind of grounded element to make it kind of and more enjoyable, no? And I got the feeling that there was very much a social commentary about kind of how technology's evolved and how kind of we're kind of what was the boss? The boss said something about you're ushering in a new era in the company with these robots and these kind of things. I kind of got the feeling that you wanted to make a commentary about how people, especially kind of younger generations, are kind of forgetting about how life used to be in the past now, and kind of getting stuck on iPads and this kind of thing. Was that something that was very present in your mind when you came up with the script?
It's interesting that you've drawn that from it. It's actually similar to that, but it's more to do with the fact that Jack is being pulled into an adult world when he kind of doesn't. Oh, he's being turned into like a corporate. You know, he tries to turn his image around and become this kind of corporate thing. It's like everything about you has been left in the past. So it's more about him as a person being told that, you know, everything that is your being is not what we want, and you need to become something that we want in order to succeed. And so the film, like, you know, I've said a couple of times, has a theme of not boxing up everything about you when you kind of transition into being an adult. You know, Jack goes through this process of taking everything that he loved about himself and denying that that's him, and he boxes it up and he puts it in the basement. And Benny comes to life really as a consequence of that. It's meant to be his own kind of childish emotions, all those instincts that he's bottling up and repressing that come out kind of uncontrolled, you know, highlighting the danger of trying to lock away the inner child that lives within all of us. So I guess if you notice that with technology, that's I think part of it, but that's more based just to Jack's own progression of kind of being, you know, lifted out of his childhood into this adult world that he doesn't really feel like he fits there or want to be part of, and he feels he has to pretend to be somebody else in order to succeed. Whereas I guess, you know, on a subtext level, the film's saying, well, no, you'll only ever succeed if you're true to who you really are.
Jack, the company want foreclosure on the loan. Repossess your house.
I have to get this finished.
Lots of people are saying you're already finished.
If you bought this tape, you're a loser. It's time to let go of the past.
I've always wanted to be a film director, and you know, but when I left college, it wasn't viable to do that. You know, the technology wasn't there, the equipment was too expensive. So like most people, I went off and got a job, and then kind of hit a midlife crisis when I hit 40 and just thought, if I'm ever going to make a film, I'd made shorts before because that's doable. You get a couple of friends, you go around their friends' houses, whatever, but making a feature always felt like something that was completely out of my wheelhouse and it wasn't possible to do. So when it got to 40, I was like, right, I'm going to do this. So yeah, in many ways, there are some parallels there with me trying to, you know, throw myself into the thing that I'd always wanted to do and never been able to do. So yeah, it was kind of like I had my own little growing up to do, my own little transition into adulthood by trying to make this film and get it off the ground. Like I say, it was all self-financed and stuff. It wasn't easy, but yeah, we got there in the end.
And it was always your intention to wear so many caps, especially to star in the film yourself? Because I mean, I don't think you've had much acting experience previously, no?
Yeah, no, it wasn't my intention to do that. It was the only way that it could be done. You know, on a self-financed movie, like I say, the crew of this was 3 people. It was me, my mum, and my best friend John. That was the main crew. So, and we were filming in my friend's house, and he lived in the house while we were filming there, and one of the bedrooms was already taken. So it was a difficult thing to schedule because you're like, okay, well, we've got a spare room for one of the actors to come down. And we had a spare room in one of the little annexes at the back. But really, it wasn't possible to make the film unless I was in the main role. So it was really a consequence of money, resources, location, and time as well. You know, in terms of the schedule that we did, things went wrong. We had to reschedule it. And I think if we'd have had another actor, we would have ended up paying him a bloody fortune. So it was kind of just, it was really a necessity to do it the way that we did.
Yeah, no, it's interesting you said that your mum helped you, because it's like this film is very much about, especially at the beginning, it's like you're still living with your parents and all this kind of thing. Is she still very kind of protective, and you listen to what she says and she takes you on your journeys?
Yeah, yeah, my mum, yeah, she's got opinions, put it that way. But no, she, we would, at a very young age, at the age of 18, I left home. And my mum and dad live up in Warrington, and I live down in Watford. Right. So, you know, we see each other a couple of times of the year. We're on the phone a lot. But yeah, when I said I was going to make a film, my mum said, I'll come down and help you make it. And but she was worried. I've never been on a film set. I've never done anything like that before. And I said, well, you'll be fine, you know, because you've got a pair of hands, so you can you know, you can lift equipment, you can help us with stuff. And so, yeah, that was an interesting experience because it's probably the longest period of time I've spent with my mum for years. Just, you know, we'd go up and see her for a weekend, and then it'd be a couple of months, and I'd go and see her for another weekend. And then all of a sudden, we had this 2 months of intense time together, working from, you know, 8 a.m. till 2 a.m. or sometimes 4 a.m. in the morning. But actually didn't go too badly. She's really good. She's got a lot of strength. Everybody else was falling asleep, but my mum, she's a total night owl.
Brilliant. I mean, so obviously, I want to talk a little bit about. Obviously, this was a daunting experience coming from not having done anything like this before. But to actually bring Benny to life must have been a nightmare. I mean, it plays out really well in the end, and it really works. But I mean, to create this inanimate object and bring it to life is just must have been intense to bring it to life. No.
Well, Benny, like I say, is CG for the majority of the movie. So yeah, we did these tests. We tried to get him to run like a little thing, and most of the time the shots are empty. So, you know, as an actor, you're acting to nothing or reacting to nothing. And so when I first put together the first edit of the film, you're watching a film without any Benny in, and it's very difficult to be like, God, what even is this thing? It's just a load of empty bloody shots. So this is why it took 4 years to put together. So I'd say that was kind of a very slow process. You know, I knew from the start I wanted him to have this, say, dog-like nature, to be able to have a very rudimentary understanding of English, obviously the whole overprotective nature. But, you know, because he doesn't speak, because he only says what's on his voice box, that posed a challenge as well of getting across how he was feeling. And I always thought that was kind of a fun thing to do, that, you know, like in a film like Ted or Chucky, you've got very realistic movements, facial movements, and with this, it's just this singular expression and these limbs flying around. So you have to kind of use other tricks to try and I wasn't sure whether that was going to work, whether that you'd watch the film and get even a sense of Benny's personality. But seemingly that's the thing most people take from it. You know, I think even people that dislike the film sort of say, well, I hated the film, but I loved Benny.
No, I mean, I don't know what it is, but it's just the movement. Even though he just bounces around the floor, there's something about it that really kind of grounds the whole character.
Yeah. So yeah, he's because I think it's that what drew me to this film more than anything was the juxtaposition of this kind of, like I say, because he sort of represents all of Jack's childish instincts, that had to come across in the way that he moved, so that he was constantly just this kind of bouncy, like you say, like a dog. You could tell a dog off and it would, you know, put its head down, but then the minute you go, oh, come on then, it's like, it's all happy and bouncy. So I think Benny had to have that very quick thing where he could switch from one mindset to another very rapidly, but always have this very sort of innocent way that he moved. And like I say, the movement of him was always meant to look like a child was playing with him rather than he was doing it of his own volition. So I think hopefully all those things come together to give him his own little personality.
He can't be bargained with. He doesn't feel pity or remorse. He absolutely will not stop until you are dead.
Play with Benny.
If it goes down really well, have you got ideas about a sequel or anything?
No,
I mean, you've still got all the dolls there.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think there will ever be a sequel.
Oh.
I mean, for a couple of reasons. One, it was written as a standalone story, and I think it kind of concludes well enough. I mean, there are places you could go with a sequel, but I wouldn't want to force it. I wouldn't want to just think like, okay, we've got to come up with a whole new situation for these to get into, and a reason for Benny to come into being. Like there was in the first film, but also it took 5 years of my life to do it, and I think after that amount of time, you just need a bit of a palate cleanser, a bit of a reset. So for me, I'm not saying I will never ever come back to it, but it feels like now I need to move on and do something different as well. So I do love Benny. I think he's an awesome little cutie pie, but it will be a while, I think, before we come back to him.
I hope he's not hearing you now. But I mean, have you got anything in mind that you want to carry on with, a bit of horror or maybe comedy, because there's plenty of comedy in there as well, or something completely different that you'd like to do next?
I think I'll stick within the horror genre, but it will be a serious horror film next, you know, because I like the idea of moving from one to the other. But you'll often hear people say when they've spent so long on one thing, you know, they just need to do the opposite. So I think I'd like to do something actually properly dark and creepy next, and just, you know, give that a go. And also it will be easier to do as well. I know that sounds crazy, but comedy horrors they're a hard thing to do because it's complicated. You're walking a fine tonal balance in the film, and you know, a film like this, which is going from slapstick to, you know, some heartfelt moments, hopefully, and you know, walking that balance is a difficult thing. Whereas if you're doing a straightforward horror, it's like you set that tone from the out, and it's pretty much the same all the way through. And I think it'd be easy to do something where I don't have a CG character at the heart of the film. You know, that's what's taken the 4 years to do that, and the, you know, robots fighting and things like that. Whereas you know, a little creepy horror film, you can just set it in the house, and it's all to do with mood and editing and lighting. And I think, you know, film something within a year would be fantastic, rather than if I spent 5 years to make every film, you know, I'll be dead before I've made 3 of them.
You'll be helping your grandkids make Benny 23.
Yeah.
Brilliant. That's a perfect note to finish on. Well, thanks so much for your time, Karl. I wish you the best of luck with the US release, and hopefully speak to you about your next Dead Straight horror movie.
Yes, thank you very much, Howard.
All right.